What is up? Today is a new day. Today we are trying something new. We are going with more of a long form thing here. I don't know how many people watch this or whatever, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this. Okay, first of all, we're talking NBA trade deadline today. Second of all, we are going to make a very long video here, and this is going to be all in one video, maybe like a cut or two. Probably not even going to edit it. I don't think I'm going to say anything terrible, and then just post it on YouTube. That's where you're going to see. Obviously, you're going to be if you're watching this. This is the only place you'll see that. And then I'm going to chop up every like talking point that I have, and I'm going to put that onto TikTok because it's where I normally post stuff. I'm not anybody right now, but I don't know. I kind of have fun with this. I'm just messing around. But yeah, so I'm gonna get into it. I have a couple things up here on my computer that we're going to talk about. To start off, we're going to talk about with the Los Angeles Lakers because they are making some moves, making things interesting up in LA, and I just want to talk about it. So obviously, Luka Doncic got dealt to the Los Angeles Lakers. It happened almost a week ago now, not quite a week ago, but it was it was almost a week ago, and we are in fact going to talk about it. Luka Doncic gets swapped for Anthony Davis. They also give up Max Christie and they give up a first round pick. I believe that was the entire trade. I'm gonna go look at it exactly, but I believe that was the entire trade, right? Or no, it was Utah too. Yeah, okay. So Luka, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first, and then the Jazz get a second round pick, a couple seconds, and Jalen Hood-Schifino, which whatever. But we're gonna right now we're talking about the Lakers. We'll move over to a couple other teams. We're gonna talk about every trade here that happened during this trade deadline. We're just gonna start off with the Lakers. So Luka Doncic, he is now on the Los Angeles Lakers, and what do we think about that? I think that Luka Doncic is a guy, him and LeBron James sharing the same court will be extremely interesting because they're two guys that are very good playmakers, very good passers, and they're obviously, I mean, two of the top whatever players. Luka being a very top player. LeBron obviously 40, but I just think that I mean this is pretty obvious that their defense might lack, and they were just kind of getting back into a role on the defensive side. Anthony Davis carried that team on defense. And don't forget Max Christie, who also is a very plus defender for the Los Angeles Lakers. They're just gone. And they're replacing him with Luka, which obviously like that I think it's a great trade for them. You pull the trigger, but on like when we're strictly talking defense here, where is it gonna come from? You got a couple other guys that can kind of do it, and now you did get the Lakers. We're still talking Lakers here. Did trade for Mark Williams, which is a separate trade that we'll talk about in a minute. But staying with Luka, I think that they definitely won the trade, but it's interesting. I don't think the Lakers are going to win the chip, but I think this makes them better than they were yesterday, and I think that's what the thing you got to think about in the NBA. A lot of times you want to look at stuff from a very wide perspective and go at it and be like, well, they're not going to win anything, so what's the point? But getting better is the point. Being better than you were yesterday, being more competent, closer to winning a championship, I think, for sure, with this trade. It also, obviously, for the future, helps them out a lot because they didn't have many young players, and the ones they do aren't, like, spectacular. Luka Doncic is a spectacular 25-year-old player who will be the face of their franchise, most likely. Most likely. Considering, well, it depends on. There's some reports that he might not. He's not instantly in for the next whatever years. He wants to see what's going to happen here in LA before making a decision because he was with the Mavericks forever, or for his whole career, and he was going to sign that extension. But now being traded, he's not instantly like, all right, I'm eager to sign because the money doesn't make sense as much. He's down. His contract would be 117 million less if he signed it today than if he signed it. Whatever, 2 weeks ago when he was on the Mavericks. So there's not really a financial incentive to do that. He's 25 years old. He's only getting better. So there is a chance, and I think it's actually a decent chance that he doesn't sign an extension with the Lakers. Obviously, I think I don't know. I think he'll probably will end up signing the extension because I think they'll have a good year. Probably win a playoff series or two. I don't think they're going anywhere great. I think they'll get beat by a Thunder. I think they'll get beat by I don't know, a couple of those other teams could beat them. I mean, they're in the mix. That this makes them in the mix, but I still I don't think that they're going anywhere with the current roster. And I think a lot of it has to do with defense. LeBron's 40. You can't ask him to carry on defense. Mark Williams, though, is the next player we're going to talk about, and he is a very interesting ad for the Lakers. I think he is honestly I think he's a great ad for the Los Angeles Lakers, to be honest with you. I think Mark Williams will do some great things on the Lakers. He has been a very good basketball player for the Charlotte. He's just been good for the Charlotte Hornets. The only issue that you have with him, and you kind of always have, is his health. Mark Williams is a guy that is not healthy 100% of the time, or a lot of the time. He's missed a lot of games over his career, but he's still a young player. I mean, I don't know his age exactly, but he is young. Mark Williams is a young center, tall. He can do a lot of the things that you're missing with AD. Obviously, he's not AD at 23. So 23-year-olds that will do good things. Now, I do think a very big issue for the Los Angeles Lakers, and I don't think this is going to go overlooked, but it shouldn't go overlooked, is Dalton Connect. I think that Dalton Connect, give it a year, call it 2 years, Dalton Connect will be a really good basketball player. I think he's shown flashes already this season with the Lakers, and he hasn't shown, like, I don't know. I just believe that Dalton Connect is going to be a really good basketball player, and I think trading him wasn't what the Lakers should do, because you're kind of, I don't know. I think they should have, although I don't mind it. You traded him, Cam Reddish, and a future pick swap for Mark Williams. It's just really going to come down to how healthy Mark Williams is and how good he really plays. He's averaging good numbers in the season. He's been hurt. He's just been. Mark Williams is a guy that the Lakers kind of like. This is. I think it. See, I think the trade is good for the Lakers. I just think that they're going to regret trading Dalton Connect down the line. I think that Dalton Connect's really like. They have a tendency to trade a lot of their young guys. I mean, you saw this earlier when they had the Kobe team, and you started shipping out all those young players. You know, you had Brandon Ingram on your team, Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, and a couple other guys that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. But you had a lot of those, a lot of young guys that they traded, and they not instantly, but pretty quickly became, or mostly pretty quickly became good rotational pieces. And I think that's what you're going to say here with Dalton Connect. Obviously, he already was a rotational piece, but I think that he's going to be a lot better than he currently is. And I think that trading him is the wrong decision, although I don't mind this because I like Mark Williams and I see where they're going. They're not going all in this year, but they kind of are. Luka Doncic, obviously 25, Mark Williams also young too, so they're not going all in this year, but all these trades say they want to win right now, and it makes sense. You have a 40-year-old guy in LeBron James who is only getting older, although he's absolutely generational still. I watched him put on a masterclass the other night. He had 14 points, 5 of 5 in the field in the first quarter. I watched it. It was crazy. He hit like three threes, or 2 threes in a row, 3 shots in a row, and he hit like a step back three he had a step back three as a heat check, and it went in, and it was crazy. They were dominating the Clippers. This was the other night. Obviously, that's random, but yeah. So, but you can't rely on him to do that as much anymore. Although he still can. It's crazy that he can. But now you have Luka Doncic, which is just crazy because, like, it's just insane. Like it's actually insane. Like, you have prime Luka Doncic. I saw a graphic that was like other players at Luka Doncic's age, and it was like 2010 LeBron, like 1980 or 19. I don't know. There was a lot of good players that at that age. And yeah, so Luka Doncic is going to be added to that list. So the Lakers this year, I don't think this changes their overall what's going to happen with them. I think that they could end up like I think it will make them a little bit better. They have a higher ceiling and a lower floor, but I don't think that's like I don't see them winning the championship. I mean, if they really go out and win the championship, good for them. I just don't see it. So, but like I said, if you look at it from a wide perspective, they're better than they were yesterday, and I mean that's all you can really ask for is just a team getting better and a team getting a young player like Luka. I mean they pretty much fleeced the Mavericks, and so my huge thing about this trade, and I'm sure it's a lot of people's opinion, but I strongly feel that if the Mavericks were smart, they could have gotten an unbelievable package for Luka Doncic. Think about it. If they went out and they made it public, they were like, "We are trading Luka Doncic. Like it's gonna happen." They would have gotten 30, probably 31 offers, maybe 30, maybe 29, but like at least like 25 plus offers that were unbelievable for Luka Doncic. Like I don't know, dude. They could have gotten something unbelievable. Like a team would have offered them like their entire team for Luka. Like obviously no, but like they could have got like a billion first round picks with multiple quality players and maybe a really really good player. Like that's what they could have gotten. And yes, Anthony Davis is a good player, but he's 31. He's not getting younger. He like I get it. They're trying like it's just ugly from the Mavericks perspective. Very very ugly. Max Christie's a cool piece. He could be good. He's somebody that you should be excited about if you're a Mavericks fan. You just saw him the other night in his first game. Shot perfect from the field. Had a really good game. But like, you don't give up Luka for that kind of for stuff like that. You just don't. Luka Doncic is the type of guy that will change your franchise, and he was doing that to the Dallas franchise. He was, and now he's no longer doing that, and that's where we're gonna have an issue because Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, there's just some weird spacing onto that team as we move over to the Mavericks side of this trade here. The Mavericks are being an interesting team. I believe they made another move, and it was something also interesting. The Mavericks are just doing a couple things that I just straight up don't really get. That is the most interesting trade that I've ever seen. I think that genuinely I've ever seen. That might be the most interesting trade I've ever seen. And it's just crazy because it doesn't make sense. Why they just made the finals. They literally, like, last year, they made the finals. Yeah, so the Mavs also traded for Caleb Martin, and they gave up Quentin Grimes in 2 seconds. Another trade that I don't really like. I kind of like Quentin Grimes on the Mavs. He is a younger player that you still, I don't know. I don't understand this, like, forfeiting the future type of deal they got going here. Why do we trade Luka Doncic, one of the best guards in the NBA? It's frustrating. I know a Mavericks fan, and he's in shambles. Like, and I would be too. Like why? What are we doing? Like, it doesn't make any sense why you would trade. Like, so you traded Luka Doncic, 25-year-old current superstar, just made the finals last year, and your explanation is that you don't like his conditioning, you're worried about giving him a long-term deal, and, like, what, you want to win now? As if the 25-year-old superstar is not helping you win now? You just made the finals last year. Like, you literally made the finals last year, and you trade your best player for, like, dude, Anthony Davis, right? He's a cool guy. He's good at basketball, and I think the Mavericks this year will be good. But, like, I don't think they're winning a championship. And if they're not winning a championship, what is going to happen in the next coming years? Because Kyrie Irving is only getting older, Anthony Davis is only getting older, and then you got a lot of other guys that are just kind of awkward on the team now. I like PJ Washington, but where does he fit? Because him and AD on the court together with a Daniel Gafford or a Derek Lively, like, that's kind of an interesting lineup. But I mean, and then Klay Thompson, like, we haven't even talked about his old, like, it's just they got a lot of old players, and it's kind of sad because they had Luka, and I think Derek Lively is a really good player too, and I thought Quentin Grimes could be something too, but they traded him. Caleb Martin doesn't, like, I don't know what Caleb Martin, I get, like, basically they want to win a championship this year. That's what they're trying to tell me, I guess, and I just don't understand how Luka doesn't help that. But, like, the defense part is what they're trying to get at, and I get it. So now what? It's Kyrie Irving. So are they gonna have? So they're gonna have I would love to see this Mavericks rotation fully because Are they going to so they're going to have Caleb Martin on the bench, or they're going to start Caleb Martin and have PJ Washington come off the bench? I feel like that's a little messed up. Obviously, AD is not going to come off the bench. You're going to have one of those two dudes at center, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford. Derek Lively's hurt, but whatever. You're going to have one of those two guys at center. You're going to have AD at the 4. So, and then, like, you could run PJ Washington at 3. I think that's what I would do. But, like, that's still, like, an interesting. And then Klay Thompson at the 2, Kyrie at the 1. So, it does look pretty good. Kyrie, Klay, whatever you want to do, Caleb, PJ, and then AD and, like, Daniel Gafford. The lineup looks good. And they have at least 2 good bench pieces when everyone's healthy, because they'll have either Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, whoever doesn't start, and then Caleb Martin. And then I think there's some other, like, okay guys. But, so their team if everything, like, on paper, their team this season doesn't look bad. Like, that team matches up with a lot of teams, and they could stop most teams. My only issue is going to be who, like, I don't know, dude. Like, I just don't know. Like, Kyrie Irving is going to have to be the GOAT. Like, him and Anthony Davis are going to have to be very, very good players, because those are the only 2 players that can kind of get their own shot off. Obviously, Klay Thompson can, but he's getting older, and, like, I don't want to have to rely on him at his age. I just don't like trading everybody for all these older dudes that only have a couple more years. Like, what do you do in 3 years? Like, in 3 years, when all these dudes are probably off the team or very, very old, like, what does the team look like? And that's what I don't understand. And I would understand if Luka was on the team, because then you're just rebuilding around Luka. And you would have signed him for a long extension, and he just would have dominated, and they probably would have got a championship at some point. But now, if they don't win a championship either this year or next year, they're kind of cooked. Unless they make some great trades, but we just saw some terrible trades. So, like, it's just a lot of, like, mix and match with this Dallas Mavericks team, and it's just a lot of, I don't know. I don't like it. I mean, I think that maybe this year they could make some noise, maybe next year, but after that, they're going to be cooked because of the age, because of strictly, like, the ages and the people on your team. Like, you don't have a young guy that's going to keep it going. Like, you just don't. Like, you're almost guaranteed to be, like, pretty bad in, like, 3 years and maybe less. And, like, why? Like, you had the guy that was going to stop that from ever occurring, and you just traded him for a package that could have been way better. That is my issue with this. That is my biggest, like, my biggest, like, complaint with this trade from the Dallas Mavericks perspective is why not look at other teams. If you said out loud, I already said this, but if you said, hey, we're going to trade Luka Doncic, we're open to any offers, some team would have gave you the farm. Some team would have gave you the absolute farm. Instead, you get Anthony Davis, Max Christie, a pick. And it was reported that originally it was more. They got Dalton Connect in multiple picks. And Rob Pelinka, dude, he just finessed them, because Nico Harrison, like, literally went rogue. Like, if he told everybody this is going to happen, this would not have went through. If he told every single person in the organization that, hey, like, I think we're going to trade Luka Doncic, it either wouldn't have happened or they would have got a way bigger package. Nico Harrison was just worried about paying him and was worried about his conditioning and other things, but, like, conditioning can be fixed, and you can't worry about conditioning when he's dropping 30, 10, and 12 every other night. Like, I'm not worried about, like, what's, like, and I just saw the Lakers post. He does not look 270. So I just don't get it. Like, I just don't. It's just a lot of excuses coming out of the Mavs camp, and I don't like it. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan at all. The Lakers got themselves one again. I still don't think this year that they'll win anything. I mean, it gives them a better shot. I think this trade gives both teams a better shot this year, but I don't know, dude. Luka Doncic is just like, why is he not? I would have said Luka Doncic will be a Maverick for life. Like, that's just the type of vibe you get, and that's the type of vibe he was giving. He just bought a $15 million house. He had no plans on moving, and then you just trade him away. It's a bad look for the organization. It's a bad look for everything, and I don't know. I'm not a fan. Okay, so now I want to pivot to the Golden State Warriors. Now, the Golden State Warriors were a team that was rumored to, they had so the Golden State Warriors had so many rumors and so many things going on. It looked like they were really, really trying to get Kevin Durant. And then it comes out that Kevin Durant does not want to go back to the Warriors. I'm pretty sure they had a trade, and Kevin Durant did not want to go. Kevin Durant did not want to get traded. And the Suns were really trying to shop him. So that situation is different. But we're going to talk about the Warriors, who it seemed like they were links to everybody. They were really trying to go get somebody. And it makes sense, right? Because you have Steph Curry, who's older now, and he's still a superstar, but his numbers are going down. He's still Steph Curry, but he's on the back end of his career, and they're trying to win now. Like, they have no motivation not to win now. So Jimmy Butler definitely, like, same thing with the Lakers. It makes them better than they were yesterday for sure. Now, they traded some rotational pieces, like an Andrew Wiggins, right? And Andrew Wiggins was somebody that Andrew Wiggins is somebody that I don't know. I think Andrew Wiggins was honestly pretty good for this for the Warriors. And in general, Andrew Wiggins is a pretty solid player. So it just kind of worries me that he's just not on the team. Like, obviously Jimmy Butler is just a straight up upgrade for him, but there's more than just there's more than just that. Like, it's kind of hard when I'm trying to pull up the exact pick so I can have it here while I talk about it. But yeah, so they gave up Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, a protected pick, PJ Tucker. I think that looking at that, okay, well no, it's a 3-team because Dennis Schroeder and stuff too. So Lindy Waters, Josh Richardson, and Dennis Schroeder to the Pistons, PJ Tucker, Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, and a first to the Heat for Jimmy Butler going to the Warriors. Yeah, so Jimmy Butler to the Warriors is extremely interesting. The whole Jimmy Butler saga is extremely, extremely interesting. But my issue, or not my issue, but what I would love to go see, and this will be cinema, will be Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler on the same court. Because Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler are both people that are, like, unreal personalities and just guys that are very vocal and guys that like to cause problems, whether for good or bad or whatever. They are always they're always doing something. They're always messing around. Jimmy Butler's a locker room cancer, but there's reports on both sides, and there's a lot of stuff coming out of Miami, so nobody really knows what's going on or what was going on. But what we do know is that Jimmy Butler really did not want to play for the Miami Heat anymore, and now he doesn't. And the Miami Heat were very desperate to trade him. They suspended him a couple times. They had some issues with him. I don't know. There's been a lot of issues coming out of Miami. So now they traded him, and the Miami Heat. I don't understand what their window looks like. PJ Tucker, Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, a first round pick. PJ Tucker, he already got traded to the Raptors. So, and that was a different trade, but Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson first. It's just an interesting package. I don't know what their timeline looks like, but we do know what the Warriors' timeline looks like, and it's right now. Now, I think that this is an issue because they're not going to win. I don't think the Warriors are going to win the championship. I do not believe it. Jimmy Butler and Curry are good, but I just don't think they have enough of other guys around them to get them to that ship. They have a couple other dudes, obviously, but I don't think it's their year. And in saying that, I do like trades that make you better than you were yesterday, but my only issue with this trade specifically is what happens when yesterday turns to tomorrow. What happens when it's next year and the year after? And they also, okay, so they signed, so what the Warriors are banking on is that Jimmy Butler and Curry are going to be around and good for a couple years because they signed Jimmy Butler to a 2-year extension right away. And that was a lot that we heard like through rumors and reports and stuff that was a lot that was up with this trade, right? They wanted to trade, or Jimmy Butler wanted to be traded somewhere that would give him that extension. The Warriors obviously said yes, we'll do that, and they did. They signed him right away, 2-year extension. So Jimmy Butler's on the Warriors for the foreseeable future. Steph Curry, I believe their contracts might line up in ending date, and I think Draymond Green might. I believe that is the case. Actually, I think that. I don't know. I know their contracts are aligned very similar, so I think they all have like 3 years left, roughly. So they have a win now window. My only thing is, they're not going to win now. So, what happens? So, my thought is that do they just make another trade next year? But with what assets? Like, it's just an interesting thing. And I mean, I guess the asset that you're going to say is Jonathan Kuminga, right? And he is somebody that if I'm the Warriors, right? Maybe I do trade him because like if you're already on this whole win now mentality, like you got to either go one way or the other because if you don't go 100% all the way into that win now mentality, then you're probably not going to win now and then you're still kind of cooked for the like I don't want to be like mostly cooked for the future and not win now. I'd rather go fully in now and then pray that you can actually win because I don't see this roster winning the championship, right? So if you don't see this roster winning the championship, then what's all this for? It's to get better, to win more, whatever. But it doesn't work like that when in a couple of years all these guys won't be on the team and then you have nobody, right? And obviously like their picks won't be great, and if they even have them, because I don't know, but it's just interesting from the Warriors' perspective. They're really trying to win now, and it makes sense. They're trying to get Curry one last chip, right? And I get it. But then I would have traded Jonathan Kuminga for a guy like Nikola Vucevic, right, on the Chicago Bulls, who has been, or a guy like Miles Turner, or just somebody like that, a center, a real big man that could get it done. And I think those guys fit that category. But they didn't do that. They did not make any other. They didn't make any other big trades, and so that means that this is their roster for the rest of the year, and it's going to be an interesting roster. The other thing with Jimmy is that he's a playoff performer, so it will be interesting to see him and Curry alongside each other in the playoffs. I don't. The other thing is Jimmy Butler doesn't really dial it in the regular season as much, or he hasn't in the past, like whatever. So it should be very interesting to watch this Warriors team play. I'm very intrigued to see them play a basketball game and see what this team looks like because right now it looks very weird. It's just Curry running around and just everybody's guarding Curry, and it doesn't look great. So I think Jimmy Butler definitely opens the floor up a little more because he's another threat. He's another offensive threat that you have to take into account. And I think that will become very apparent in the playoffs when you have Curry and Jimmy Butler. But still, I don't think I would have either traded Jonathan Kuminga or not made this trade at all. The issue here is that Curry is a guy that's been loyal, right? He's been loyal to the soil. He's been on the team forever. You don't want to trade him, right? But you see this all the time where you backstab and you trade and you do whatever. I'm not saying I would do this, but if you're looking from strictly a basketball perspective, right? I think the best option would have just been to trade Curry. It's kind of a weird. You just don't actually do that because it's Curry, right? And he's been in Golden State, and he's just a Golden State for lifer probably by now, right? You're not going to trade him. But like if you're looking at strictly a basketball perspective, like he's getting older, like why not trade him for a bunch of young assets and just start the rebuild? Why not? Is because Curry's Curry. Like I just said, you're not going to trade Steph Curry. But I'm saying from a strict basketball perspective, that is what I would do. But I don't think I would actually do it because it's Curry, right? So if you're not going to trade Curry, what you have to do is go all in. So yep, you trade for Jimmy Butler. That's you going all in. But I don't think it's you going all in. I think you should have traded Jonathan Kuminga for somebody else. I'm not saying I don't know who, like, but one of those guys that I was just saying, or somebody like that, somebody that can, another guy. I don't think. Like, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to hold on to Jonathan Kuminga so they have something for the future. But I don't think he's enough for the future to hold on to him. Like, I think you're trying to go all in, so just go all in. And just worry about the other stuff later. Like, I don't. It's a very weird way to do it. Because it's just weird. It's just a weird way. I think as like if I was the GM, I would be either on one or the other end, being like, okay, let's just go all in. Like like that, if that's what we're saying, then do it. Like I don't think having Kaminga on the team does anything. Obviously, he's still a good player and can help him out right now to try to win. But I don't know, dude. And then if you end up trading him, it just I don't know. It's weird, and they're not gonna win this year, and then they're gonna have issues down the line. And I do not see the Warriors winning another championship. I mean, maybe a long stretch, but they'd have to make it like they're not winning it this year, probably. And then it'd be a stretch. They'd have to make some other moves and some other things would have to come into fruition for that to happen. Now, let's talk about the San Antonio Spurs. Or no, hold on. Back it up. Let's talk about the Miami Heat because we're in that trade and we're just gonna talk about them. The Miami Heat have been generationally mid forever. They had one good run because obviously before, like way before when they had LeBron and stuff, they were great. Recently they've been generationally mid, and then they just go off in the playoffs because Jimmy Butler's the GOAT. And if you don't have Jimmy Butler, right, what does the Heat team look like? Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, a couple other guys. Um, but what do we like Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, like those are just ugly. They just have a bunch of mid. And I think Tyler Hero has been really good this year. He's somebody that obviously is really good. I think Bam Adebayo is good. Obviously, Andrew Wiggins is okay. They have some other guys here and there. I like Kami. I like there's Kalal Ware. I don't know. There's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys that are pretty decent on the Heat, but they don't have that one. Like Tyler Hero, I love him, right? But I don't think that he's the best player on a championship level team. I just don't believe that. He definitely not now, but he may be down the line. But I don't know. It depends on how much you see him. I don't know. And that team's just interesting. Like they're obviously probably maybe they like go to the playoffs. Maybe they do this. Maybe they do that. But again, they're not winning the championship, and that's what you're looking for in a team. Obviously, they're not. They didn't make this trade to win the championship. They made this trade to. They made this trade for other reasons, to get rid of Jimmy Butler. They were very adamant about getting rid of Jimmy Butler, and they did that, and they got a decent package considering that Jimmy Butler was basically like just like forcing a trade. So Andrew Wiggins, like it's just a lot of on the Miami Heat side, and I think they're just an type of organization recently, where I just don't think that anything great's gonna come from the Miami Heat, and they'll be alright, like they'll be solid, but until they're probably. What's going to happen is they're going to either sign somebody big or they're going to trade for somebody big, because I think that's what has to happen on this Miami Heat team for them to go to the next level, to start competing. And in the East, like it is way easier to compete. It's really just it depends on who you really believe in, but I think it's really just the Cavs, the Celtics, the Knicks, and the Bucks. Those are the teams that I think are like really like could do it. Yeah. There's some other teams in there, but I don't really believe in them. The Magic, honestly, fully healthy Magic, I think could be interesting, but I still don't see it. Although Paulo's a dog, they've been kind of weird recently too, but whatever. Yeah. So now let's go over and talk about the San Antonio Spurs, because they absolutely fleeced these teams in this trade. I'm gonna pull up the exact trade so I can list it and talk about it. Where's it at? This trade, right? This trade. Where is it at? Oh, here it is. The 3-team trade. De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin. That's what they get. The Kings got Zach LaVine, Sidney Casico, a first-round pick. Or they got 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks. The Bulls got Zach Collins, Kevin Huerter, Trey Jones, and a 2025 their own pick from the Spurs. The Spurs fleeced. Everything that you said, everything that I saw beforehand, or everything that I thought that the Spurs were gonna have to. I thought the Spurs are gonna have to give up like some really good players and assets. And yes, they did give up some picks and they did give up some assets, but not really. And they got De'Aaron Fox. Like, Swipa, bro. They got Swipa on their team, and he just had a great game for the Spurs the other night in his first game. But him and Victor Wembanyama is going to feed some families for the foreseeable future, and that's just awesome. Like, honestly, like I'm glad for De'Aaron Fox because of what's been going on and beforehand, and they're just like, I don't know, dude. De'Aaron Fox and Victor on the same court is going to be some cinema. It is going to be absolute cinema. De'Aaron Fox is one of the top whatever guards in the league. He's not somebody that honestly you talk about often because he plays for the Kings, and the Kings are literally the most generationally mid team in the history of mid. So, and the Kings are just a small franchise. They don't get talked about a lot. They're really not a great team, so you don't talk about them a lot. And then you have a guy like De'Aaron Fox who was kind of just banished onto the Kings, and I shouldn't say that because the Kings were actually they were a pretty fun team at a point, and they were really fast and fun, but they just I don't know. They never I don't know. They were interesting. They right now are pretty interesting, but they're still like stuff needs to be done over there in Sacramento. But more on the Spurs side, they're set up. They are absolutely set up. They have Jeremy Sochan. They have Stephon Castle, right? They have other guys too. They like their team just is good. They just have a good team, and now that you have De'Aaron Fox just plug right in there, playing alongside Stephon Castle and alongside all these other guys, and of course Victor Wembanyama, like this team is set up for the future, and I am very very excited to see what the future holds for this team because De'Aaron Fox will probably be with that team for a while, and obviously Victor is going to be there for a while, so you're already locked up on two great guys for a long time, and you have a lot of good role players that you can either keep and try to just build and be better, or you can trade and you can get even better. And the other thing is that they have the Atlanta Hawks first round pick, and the Atlanta Hawks just are not good. They have Trae Young and they have like nobody really like, and they just traded DeAndre Hunter. Like they really are just selling out, and they don't even have their own first round pick. The Spurs have it, so the Spurs are gonna get a top whatever pick, and it's gonna be something to see over there in San Antonio. They're really building their team right. They got the first overall pick and when you really needed it to get Victor. They made a great trade to get De'Aaron Fox. They drafted a couple other guys that are pretty good. Now they have a top whatever pick. They're gonna have a couple picks. They still have this great team. They're gonna be here and they're gonna be here for a while, and they're coming. Sacramento Kings are coming. I mean, no, the Spurs are coming. I don't think that's this year, obviously, but I think they could make some no, they could make some like light noise. Like by that I mean like they could like sneak into the playoffs and maybe like make an interesting series or two. But like it's whatever. But in the future, those two are gonna be absolute cinema, and it's just gonna be great to watch. Now, I want to talk about the Washington. No, not the Washington Wizards. I want to talk about the Sacramento Kings because they are an unreal franchise. They got Zach LaVine. They got Jonas Valanciunas, and so they still have like their team just looks their team just looks very. It's just an interesting team because you still have Malik Monk, right? And Malik Monk has been playing really good this year. So you have Malik Monk and you have Sabonis, right, who are really good. You still have DeMar. Now you have Zach LaVine, and now you have Jonas Valanciunas. Now my only thing is, do you see Jonas Valanciunas? Like I don't know. I this team is very interesting when it comes to spacing because of Jonas and because of Jonas and because of Sabonis. But Malik Monk has been really good, so hopefully he can continue to be that really good player. And you really didn't give up anything. You gave up a couple seconds in Sidney Casico, so you really didn't give up much to get him. So I see why you do it. Like there's really no downside. It's 2 second round picks. I'd rather have Jonas, but I just wonder what this team is gonna look like because it's just gonna look very interesting to see the lineup I just said. Like Malik Monk, Zach LaVine. You still have like Keegan Murray. You still have DeMar. So Malik Monk, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Keegan Murray, Domantas Sabonis, Jonas Valanciunas off the bench, or do you run Sabonis and Jonas together? But that's an interesting again because of spacing. I don't know. It's an interesting roster, interesting decisions. They're just like like this is another mid team. Like they have a lot of those guys are good and they could be good, but I don't know. I don't like you don't see anything great coming in the future for that team. And trading De'Aaron Fox, like they pretty much got finessed for De'Aaron Fox, so it really kind of hurts. Um, I don't know. You wish that if you're a Kings fan, I'm sorry. You've been generation mid. Now you just traded for a lot of guys. They're really trying to make a push, but their push is not going to go anywhere. Again, they could be interesting in the bottom seeds of the West. Could maybe get a series in, but I really don't think that this team is going to do anything great. So it's just kind of unfortunate because there's just a lot of older players. They're literally just the Bulls 2.0. Like they're just I don't know, like the Kings just I don't know. Because like Malik Monk like he's been good. He's been really good. But like do you really think that team is going to go anywhere? I just don't. And then what happens next year and the year after that when you got like that's your roster? Like those are all aging guys, all of them, every single player, every like literally every single one besides Keegan Murray and like maybe some bench pieces, and like Domantas Sabonis isn't that old, I don't think, but like, I mean, I don't know, like how like Domantas Sabonis isn't young though, I don't think. Like Domantas Sabonis, he's got to be like kind of up there, right? He is 28. Okay, so 28. Overestimate a little bit, but he's still older. No, okay, maybe. I mean, I don't know though. I don't know. I don't see him and Jonas on the same court being a good pairing. Because where is the shooting? Where is it? And then you also have DeMar DeRozan on the same team. Where is the shooting? And it's 2025, so like we need to be shooting the basketball, and it needs to be from three. And when you have those three players, what's going on? And like, I mean, I don't know. It's just that's interesting. But you do have Zach LaVine, who's a bucket, so kind of cool. It would be really cool to see Zach LaVine in New Jersey because he's been banished to the Bulls forever. But I think that maybe now with him on a new team, it'll be very very interesting to see what goes on with them. But yeah, so the Kings. Now I want to talk about there's a couple other teams that I would like to talk about. One second. Got a lot of tabs pulled up here, just looking at some stuff while I talk. Okay, we'll talk about all the trades. The Celtics offloaded Jaden Springer to the Rockets for some seconds. And they got a second. This trade really doesn't mean anything. They're just trying to save money. They saved $16 million. Yeah, it's really just about money, and those type of things we don't really care about. The Pistons add KJ Martin in 2 seconds for cash. Cool. Like we don't like. Oh, the one we do need to talk about is Kyle Kuzma going to the Bucks. The Bucks add Kyle Kuzma, Patrick Baldwin Jr., Jericho Sims in a second for Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, and a first. The Knicks also get DeLon Wright in cash. Kyle Kuzma is on the Bucks. Before we talk about that, I would like to give my utmost apologies to Chris Middleton. He has gotten banished to the Wizards. I think Chris Middleton's going to become a guy that is very shortly out of the league. He's somebody that has already been aging and not as great season by season. Now he's going to go to the Wizards, and I think he's just going to become banished. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll turn around, but yeah, it's not a good look for Chris Middleton. I'm sorry, Chris. But Kyle Kuzma on the Bucks. Kyle Kuzma is somebody that's actually, I believe, is a pretty good basketball player, and I think this trade for them is really, really good. It's something that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, but I really think that Um, I think that it's pretty good. I think that Kyle Kuzma could be something that um, he could be somebody for the Bucks. I'm still a little worried about the Bucks because I just think the Celtics are too good. I am a Celtics fan, so a little bit of bias, but not much bias. The Cavs and the C's are better than the Bucks. Although I think the Bucks could make it interesting with the Cavs. We're going to talk about the Cavs after in a second, but um, yeah, the Bucks are very, very interesting. Um, Malik Beasley, right? They have they just have no, not Malik Beasley. Who am not Malik Beasley, not Malik Beasley. Whatever. The Bucks have some guys over there, and obviously they have Giannis, right? And Giannis is somebody that can do it consistently, and Damian Lillard obviously is somebody that can also do it pretty consistently. And they still have Bobby Portis, they still have Brook Lopez, Gary Trent, and now they have Kyle Kuzma. And I think Kyle Kuzma is very, very interesting for this roster. Very, very interesting. In the short form of things, I think that he's just a straight up better. He's just straight up better than Chris Middleton, and it's not close. Obviously, I mean, I think we can agree on that. Hopefully, um, but I think that this roster lacks depth. Kind of. I mean, so what? Dame at the one. What? Gary Trent at the two, and then like, so what does their lineup look like at the 3, 4, and 5? Like, who did they? Who I don't know, because do you run like I'm very interested in knowing and wanting to know like who does it, because they still have Bobby and Brooke who they both believe in, and then they also have Kyle who's like a bigger guy. Like, can you run Kyle to 3 and then run Bobby and Brooke? Like, is that, I don't know. They have an interesting team. I mean, obviously, and they still have Pat Connaughton, I completely forgot about, but yeah, their team is just interesting. So I'm very intrigued to see what happens. Again, I don't think the Bucks are going anywhere, but I think this trade is you don't lose this trade. Like, there's really no reason not, if this is a trade, like I would say yes to this as the Bucks. There's no reason not to. You're getting a better team. I just don't think it's putting you over the hump. Although it is very interesting. I think Kyle Kuzma could, depending on what version of Kyle Kuzma we see, could be extremely interesting for the Bucks, because I think Kyle Kuzma is a good basketball player, and you still have Dame, right? And you still have Giannis. So you still have both those guys. Then you have Kyle Kuzma, and your centers are good. You still have Bobby Portis and you have Brook Lopez, two quality big men. You still have Gary Trent, who's solid. You have Pat Connaughton's all right. Like, your team doesn't look bad, and if you just lock in, like, that team is a pretty good team. And obviously they're up top in the East, and they just added Kyle Kuzma. So I think they honestly could. This could be interesting for the Bucks. In terms of a chip, I think that the Celtics probably have it. I think the Cavs could be interesting, and I think this team could be interesting in the East. In the West, forget it. There's a lot of interesting things going on in the West. The West is way harder than the East. But I think the Cavs, the Celtics, and the Bucks. I feel like this team I just didn't say that I should be saying that I forgot about, but it's really those teams that are interesting. Obviously, you have some other teams that are still good, like the Pacers and blah 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 blah. There's like a list of teams in the East, but it's really just those 3 teams, right? And I think that makes them better. I think the Bucks, like, adding Kyle Kuzma just makes them better, and it makes them more likely to beat these other 2 teams. And now, I'm gonna talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers for 1 second, and then I'm gonna talk about the Celtics because I'm a Celtics fan, and then I'm gonna end this off here. So the Cleveland Cavs, they added DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter is a really nice player to add to this Cavs team because he will just fit right in at that 3 spot, play some really good defense, do exactly what you need him to do. You don't have to ask too much of him because you have all these other guys around him. You have Evan Mobley, you have Jared Allen, you have obviously Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, and then he just fits right in the middle. And you have a deep team because you have all these other guys in their bench that are really good basketball players. The Cavs are a very intriguing team. I still think if the Celtics and Cavs play, the Celtics would beat them, right? And that's what that's what it comes down to. But this trade I love for the Cavs. I think that it just makes them better, and they're already like at the top of the they're already at the top of the league. And I mean, so they gave up Karis LeVert, Georges Niang, 3 second-round picks, and 2 first-round pick swaps to the Hawks. Karis LeVert, right, is a good player, but if you're getting DeAndre Hunter, that's okay. Georges Niang is a solid player, but personally, I don't like him that much. I don't think he's great. He does do some good things, but DeAndre Hunter is just straight up better. And second-round picks and swaps, that's for, I mean, yeah. It's definitely like you gave up a decent amount. You gave up some rotation pieces, but nothing unbelievable. You gave up no like amazing asset to get DeAndre Hunter. So you're still have the same young, good core, and the same young, good core, and you look good. So if you have the same young, good core and you look good, then like why not do this then? Like if that's what's going on, then why not? So yeah, I think that's like it's a great trade for the Cavs, and I'm very intrigued to see the Cavs play a team like the Celtics now with DeAndre Hunter on the court. Like I'd love to see the Cavs in the playoffs because I'm intrigued. They also have Donovan Mitchell, who he is a game closer. They just need to do a little better than they did last year in the playoffs. Because if you remember what happened last year, they were an unimpressive team in the playoffs last year. So you'd like to see a little bit of a run, and that right there. That last year's playoff run is why I don't think they'll be able to beat a Bucks or maybe beat a Bucks, but they would be a good series, and they wouldn't be able to beat the Celtics because, like you can't that doesn't just get excused, right? And lastly, I just want to talk about my home team, the Boston Celtics, for a second. They didn't do anything at the trade deadline, so there's not really much to talk about in terms of that. But I just wanted to talk about them in general and how they're a great basketball team and how I think that they're on their way to winning 2 chips in a row. We've kind of known this for the whole year. I think they're still the best team in the league. I don't care what the Cavs are doing. I don't care what the Thunder are doing. But I do care a little bit about what the Thunder are doing. Because I think that the Thunder, if they aren't young in the playoffs, and what I mean by that, like obviously they are going to be young in the playoffs. They're not changing their team, but I'm saying if they don't act young in the playoffs, if they act really good, and if they play how they've been playing all season, they could 100% beat the Celtics in the finals. But do you really believe that the Oklahoma City Thunder this year are going to win the finals? Do you really believe that? Do you actually believe it? Personally, I do not believe it. So, going over that again, do you really believe the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to win the NBA championship this year? Maybe you say yes. Good for you. I don't. Do you really believe the Milwaukee Bucks are going to win the chip this year? No. You can go over to the West and list some teams. Like, do you really believe the Nuggets? No. Do you believe, like, Lakers? No. There's a couple other good teams at the top of that. Hold on. Let's go look at the standings for a second. Yeah, so, like, the Thunder, the Grizzlies, the Rockets, the Nuggets, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Timberwolves, the Mavericks, the Kings, the Suns, the Warriors, the Spurs. Any of those teams, who's winning the chip? Are the Thunder? I mean, yes, they're 49, so you could say yes if you really believe it. But I just don't think it's their, like, it just can't be their year. Not this year. The Grizzlies are a really good team, but again, do you really think? Same thing with the Rockets, are really young, and they're interesting, but I don't see it. Right, the Nuggets, do you think they're going to win? I mean, Jokic is there. They have Jamal Murray, who's a playoff performer, but their team just looks worse and worse. Like, just because of, like, they looked better in years past, so. The Clippers, like, do you think the Clippers are going to do it? Maybe Kawhi makes a big leap in the playoffs for playoff performer? Like, no. The Lakers in the 5th seed, do you think they could do it? I mean, like, you could be convinced, but, like, I don't think so. And then you go down more and more. The Timberwolves with Julius Randle, I don't believe so. The Mavericks, the new look Mavericks, do you believe they're going to win the chip? The Kings, new look Kings, do you believe? Like, so I don't believe any team. And then if you go to the East, right, the Cavs, the Celtics, the Knicks, the Pacers, the Bucks, the Heat, the Pistons, the Magic, the Hawks, the Bulls. The Cavs, like, you could say they could win it, but I think the Celtics would beat them. The Knicks, you could say, I guess, but I think the Celtics would beat them. The Bucks, you could say, I guess. I just think the Celtics are the unequivocally best team, and I think they're going to win another NBA championship. And I think we're just counting down the days, counting down the hours. And I'm so excited to see it once again. And obviously, I mean, this is not how life works, but I hope it's how life works. So, yeah. I think that's going to wrap it up. I've been talking for 55 minutes, so I think that's good. This is the first time I'm doing something, like, very long like this, so, yeah, I'm interested to see how this actually does. I kind of just did this for fun. Maybe does something for him. Like, maybe this probably will be the start of something. But, yeah, it's just the start. We're just starting. So, yeah. Hope it's a generational day for everybody out there. And go C's, baby. Go C's.